Would you run 100 miles for the animals? Welcome to Activist. I'm Gareth.
And I'm Jackie. Today we had the pleasure of talking with Josh Howell, an ultra athlete who recently did just that. As well as being a huge advocate for fitness and health in the vegan community, he is also a passionate activist for the animals.
In this episode, we talk about some of his activism, his sports, and what you can do as a vegan athlete. So if you like this content, then smash that like button, drop a comment below, and subscribe to the YouTube channel to keep up to date with this series. We hope you enjoy this interview as much as we did. Thank you so much for joining us today, Josh. We always like to start these interviews by learning a little bit more about our guests and specifically what it was that led them to become vegan. We understand you, much like Jackie, were influenced by something you saw on Facebook and then prompted to reevaluate your perspective on consuming animals. Would you mind sharing with our audience a little bit about this experience?
For sure, yeah. I can't even remember who shared the video, but it was one called "The 6-Minute Video Will Make You Speechless," and it pretty much did. It had a profound effect on me. I watched it and so many things were going around in my head, and I always considered myself an animal lover, but then I realized that I would never kill an animal, so paying someone else to do it made me a hypocrite. You know, we've had a dog and a cat as a family, and I realized that why don't we show love and compassion to these other animals? So kind of led me down the rabbit hole, started becoming vegetarian, and then 6 or 7 months later, finally labeled myself vegan after many thought processes going on, and here we are now, many years down the track.
Oh, that's
going
good.
strong.
Yes, very strong, very strong. I love it. And I love what you said about the whole, dogs and cats versus other species. We were talking with Juliet Gallatley recently, and they're doing a campaign for Save a Baby, where they've got pictures of baby lambs, these huge billboards across the UK. And it's like, some people actually eat these. It's like, yeah, why do we actually do that? It's insane.
Yeah.
But good on you. And that's actually not like a few months between going vegetarian and vegan is pretty good, really. I mean, a lot of people, it takes years, or decades in my case. So, but
I admire those people that have changed overnight. To do it cold tofu or cold turkey, as people say, the veganized version, then yeah, that would be awesome. Looking back, I would have loved to have done it in a shorter period of time, and obviously would have loved to have done it many years ago. But unfortunately, we're conditioned to think that what we used to eat was normal. And even one of the other things that I found hard was the fact that mum and dad had probably taught me wrong and told me to eat the wrong food, So all these things were challenging thoughts to have, but you overcome it and realize that it can be a thing and move forward.
Yeah, it's one thing going against society and the norm there, but then also going against the parents, that's the next level too.
Yeah.
It's that whole leading by example thing, isn't it? I keep that strong in my mind a lot. When Dr. Klepper taught us that, didn't he, about a year ago? We had the pleasure of talking to him, and I was the same as, raising my children who are adults now, and thinking, God, everything I taught them was wrong. Like, I wish I could take it all back and teach them another way. But he's like,
totally, yeah.
All you can do is lead by example. And I mean, you're a shining example of that. I just, love your positivity and everything that you do and put out there of yourself. And since going vegan, you've not only become an advocate for the animals, but you also took up the task of showing what is possible on a plant-based diet in the endurance sports world. Having recently completed a 100-mile ultra endurance run, as well as a cheeky bit of activism at the finish line, which we look forward to talking about further, we were surprised to find out that prior to being vegan, being active and fit wasn't on your radar. I always love checking out these stories, the backstories of vegan FTA, because you always kind of think they came to it through health or whatever, and often it's a completely different journey. So was there a specific catalyst that made you decide to change that aspect of your life too?
Yeah, it kind of all started, I guess, coming together. I realized that I enjoyed riding bikes as a youngster, and then I thought, why did I stop doing it? And there's this huge period from, I guess, before I was 10 years old till 20 plus, where I didn't ride any bikes at all. And I thought, I enjoyed it back then, and I enjoyed it again when actually a friend of mine suggested that I ride to work, and I kind of brushed it off immediately thinking, I don't want to do that. But then, a bit more encouragement from him, and I ended up using one of his ones and started really enjoying it. And it all kind of started happening, the whole vegan thing at the same time, as well as getting back into a bit of fitness. And yeah, it's progressed nicely from that.
Oh, fantastic.
Very nicely.
Yeah. Personal health and activism is a topic that we've spoken on multiple times throughout this series, and we'd love to have your input on this. Often we see the memes come up where you're only a real vegan if you just eat the junk food. You're only a real vegan for the animals. If you do that, you've got to almost abuse yourself to be it for the animals.
If you're doing it for the right reasons, yeah.
Which, like in a sense, perpetuates as well that whole idea that veganism is a diet again as well with that thing. And we like to have a bit of fun here and there, but here at Vegan FTA, we encourage people to pursue veganism in whichever form suits them. If you do want to be a junk food vegan, then that's good on you. Get and support some of our fantastic brands out there. But the thing is, we've learned from so many of our activists that trying to have that level of self-care is needed to be continually fighting for the animals. As an event organizer and a prolific activist, how do you approach food for self-care?
Well, we often consider ourselves temples, and why not treat your temple with the best food possible? And junk food is definitely not that. There's many vegan junk food options that are not healthy. And if you're not healthy, then you can't be out there fighting for the animals, or you can't be your shining best self. So it's so important. And Shamiz, one of my best mates who you guys have had on, also said this as well, that, we need to be thriving and healthy in order to do our best job for the animals or for whatever it is that we want to do in life. So that's the way I look at food. Why would you fuel your body with the wrong food? It's like you wouldn't go and put the wrong fuel in your car because it won't function correctly. So why do we do that to our bodies? And to me, it's so logical and simple. It's just like, all right, something put us on this earth with our natural diet. Why don't we eat that natural diet and feel the optimum all the time? Like, I haven't been sick for 3 years, and when I was turning vegan, I was sick each year until it progressively got to the stage where, I haven't gotten sick in a long time. So high raw food, high fruit, high whole foods, and just treating my body with awesome food. It's got me feeling great.
It's a great way to be. And I know from our experience, we've gone through even doing this series, where we've got to a stage of burnout because we're just doing so much, to keep things going. And then you start having the junk food because you're feeling burnt out. But, then the times that we got back on the horse, well, that's the specious way to say it. What do you say? Back
They're
on
all
the bike.
coming out this morning.
Yeah, back on the bike, and got back with the whole food sort of line of it. That's when we start perking back up. We can be bright and happy again doing it. So I can definitely speak from experience on that one. I like my junk food binges, but I know it doesn't serve me. It doesn't serve the animals because I can't work properly when I'm doing it.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's good to have that reminder every now and again, if it's a binge or even if, you still drink alcohol, but to really realize how you felt after it and then say, I remember how I felt. I'm not going to do it again.
Absolutely. It's not worth it. And I mean, you yourself have shown what you can achieve on the right food, on the best food. I follow both you and Shamiz and High Carb Health, on social media, and your food always looks amazing. And people sort of think, how can you just eat that? But Shamiz has helped me a lot with High Carb Health as well. But and that's really helped with the whole gut health thing. But that's a whole other topic. Continuing on the theme of what we consume, like you say, you've adopted a whole food plant-based diet to coincide with your veganism, as we try to most of the time.
I'm usually the one to derail it.
As part of this, you abstain from cooking with oil and salt. But, you also choose to abstain from caffeine and alcohol as well. And in an interview that you did recently with Kiwi activist Michael Nelson Davis for his podcast, The Victim's Perspective, you spoke about how these were another component that society dictates to us and how you choose to stand up for yourself and make your own decision on these substances, which is great. And, being able to think critically about our decisions allows us to guide our path more in line with our own ethics or principles. And many of us face our own hard decisions when choosing to go against the grain for one reason or another. And we're wondering, do you have any advice for somebody going through a choice like that? We just said right before we started the interview, we know as Kiwis all too well how ingrained the whole binge drinking culture is here, and how hard it can be to be the only non-drinker at a social event. So, you've abstained from all that for quite a while now, haven't you?
Yeah, I'd just like to make it clear that it was not always the case, and I was definitely conditioned. I used to drink alcohol. I used to stand at a barbecue, put sausages on the barbecue with oil, terribly unhealthy. So I'm no better. I've just changed as a result, and you can too. It takes more people to just be strong, and when you are confident about whatever it is, if it's caffeine or alcohol, you just say to people, even if there's 10, 15 people and you're the minority, speak up. Say what you want to say, be confident, and people will not hassle you. People don't hassle me anymore with it, with alcohol, with meat, with anything like this. So yeah, it can be a little bit scary, but you can do it. Be strong and make a date, make it apparent to you that I want to stop or whatever, stop consuming something on a certain date and stick to it. And if you do slip up, then make sure that the next gap is even further, and get to the point where you're happy and you say, I'm done with it.
Yeah, it's amazing the power of a no thank you. It's not rude to say no thank you. It's just looking after yourself, and as you say, it's standing up for how you feel and how you wish to go forth in your life.
Yeah, well, just to clarify with the whole caffeine thing, is I don't drink tea, coffee, or anything like that. But so you don't drink. I mean, we all know what alcohol is, but when it comes to not consuming caffeine, that's tea, coffee.
Yep, all of it. Don't have any of it. Even gels for performance exercise. A lot of endurance athletes use gels with caffeine in them. And for sure, it does give a performance advantage. But hey, there's all these other banned substances which are banned for a reason. So why doesn't caffeine fall into that category as well?
So true. So true. And you came, sixth in your recent 100 miler?
22nd overall, sixth in my age group.
Wow.
And,
so with no caffeine.
No caffeine, none at all. No. No salt tablets, no nothing, no electrolyte mix, just fruit and whole foods.
Wow.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. I must say it would make the Tour de France a bit more entertaining, seeing them grabbing the hot coffee, I was trying to bike him. A few more burn marks rather than road rash. But
they all use caffeine as well, so I'm not surprised, They have those, what are the tiny little shots, but very strong coffees. They love them. They go crazy for them.
I remember actually we're talking years ago now, but I did the ultramarathon once and I loved it so much. I never did another one because it went so perfectly. I thought I can't do another one because it might,
fair enough.
It can't possibly measure up to that. But the amount of the flat Coke was what they were just pumping into us. And at the time it was the best thing in the world. But it's just great to know that you don't need that.
Yeah, well, fruit has the same effect and it doesn't have any of the nasty chemicals and acids and stuff like that fizzy drinks have.
Brilliant.
That's very good to know.
But having been a vegan for 7 years now and a prominent activist throughout that time, I understand that you started out by attending AV Cubes. And I also understand you're an advocate for more direct conversations about veganism as compared to the satellite introductions. What is it that draws you to that line of communication?
I feel just the interaction that you have from whoever it is, a stranger on the street, and them, their eyes opening to the fact that, hey, maybe they were perhaps conditioned to think certain things, as I was, and really realize that it's okay to, take the first step and going, wow, I haven't seen this before. Wow, I didn't know that. And then, progressing hopefully down the steps of the vegan lifestyle. So yeah, that interaction and people being very open to it is what draws me back and what keeps me doing it, because I feel that people aren't aware, for one, and just don't know what's possible. So it's quite promising.
Definitely. I mean, anyone who's here in New Zealand knows that you're a very seasoned activist and pop up at events all over the place, which is fantastic. And it's something even I struggle with. It's fine, being behind a screen or whatever on a keyboard, but it's hard sort of not to tiptoe around. I don't want to offend people, or how do I start these conversations? So as someone who is great at it, do you have any advice for any members of the audience who might like to be more direct with their communication towards non-vegans? Have there been any sort of resources that have helped you along the way in learning to find your voice and your strengths in that way?
I would say just practice and talk like you would to just a friend or something like that. Most people have this kind of fear that the conversation is going to turn angry or the person's going to get aggressive, which I would say in 95% of the situations is never the case. And most people are just open to it. Most people are friendly, and if they don't want to talk, they'll just walk on by and you let them go. But I would say, the overwhelming majority of people are happy to have a chat about it, and they probably will learn something new, and it's quite a good thing. So yeah, just overcome that fear and just step out and start doing. And I still don't have all the answers, but I'd like to consider that I have many of the answers, and the only way to be able to snap the answers out is to practice. And maybe the first few conversations don't go so great, but you never know what impact it has had on that person anyway, and maybe they'll the ripple effect will carry on. You just don't know. There's no way of quantifying it.
That's great to know. There's also good to know about how you're saying if they don't like it, then most of the time they'll just walk away. And I suppose that is some of that fear that people have when engaging in these sorts of events, is that it's going to go off the handle. You're going to have someone barking at you, going nuts at you. But also we have spoken to previous organizers of events like AV and stuff like that, and they say if you are too afraid at the start, you can always be one of the ones holding the televisions, or be another part of that sort of activism.
Yeah, totally. We're doing an event tomorrow, and even if someone could come along and turn the camera on and we can record an interview or something like that, then it can be put on social media, and then it can be shared, and then who knows what other seeds have been planted as a result of whoever watching it from whatever country. It's just, you never know.
And that person holding the camera is then being part of a vital piece of activism.
Yeah,
so
totally.
Great.
It takes two people to do it, so it's important. And you don't have to be the one talking. You don't have to be the one interacting with anyone, but it all helps, and we can all do our little bit in order to make the world a better place.
Definitely. You just learn as you go, don't you? And just get that bit more inspiration and get a bit stronger.
So we loved one of your campaigns you were recently involved with, and that was to put up an enormous billboard in central Auckland, where we are at the moment. And it said, if you think it's wrong to hurt animals, you already believe in being vegan, with the added prompt to drivers and passers-by to give veganism a go for themselves at tryvegan.org. The local vegan community got behind this, and it was fantastic because you guys had to raise $3,000, I believe, to display it for only a month. And from an outside perspective, it may seem like this is an expensive way to advocate, but why is it campaigns like this are so important and so worth backing financially?
We just don't know what's going to have the effect on anyone, whether it's a billboard or online activism or me doing the endurance sporting events that I do. I think we just need to do as much as we can and do whatever we can in order to try and change more people, or, at least get into the stage of being open-minded to change. So it's just another avenue, really.
Yeah, covering all bases. I guess, as we know, the local vegan community got behind you, and you had that money in no time, which was fantastic. I guess there's something about, I don't know, for me, donating to something like that, it's kind of like a pride feeling, certainly among the vegan community when you look up at something. I mean, we were in Christchurch, and I had nothing to do with it, but there was a vegan billboard in Christchurch, I believe, and it was just sort of looking at it and thinking, we're getting out there, we're getting everywhere, in whatever way that we can. And it's like, you can try and shut your eyes to what's happening, but you try and close your eyes to that big thing over there.
That's right. And that's why we stand on the street with TVs as well, because people have to walk by, and whether they're sitting on the laptops at their home on the couch, and they might click on something, but they're less likely to because no one's in their face, and standing on the street, again, people can walk on by, but they don't. And especially with the billboard, you cannot miss it. And we have some people that have regular donations set up as automatic payments, and encourage more people to do it because, for instance, the Auckland Vegan Facebook page has 10,000 members, and if every single person donated $1, then we could have that billboard up for almost another 3 months, and $1 is nothing to most people, even if you did that once a year, look at what we could achieve.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And there's quite often a discussion we see come up in vegan groups about, whether it's better to back certain organizations than others, or, in the case of maybe supporting a sanctuary or supporting direct action with your finances. And if you're somebody who wants to support activism directly, this is a great thing. As you say, even if it's just $1, you can, if even like for us, we have $20 a month each that we sort of just spread out, into a couple of different places. And so even if it's just $5 one month you put towards your local group's billboard, that's a fantastic thing for people to do.
Yeah, even $1 a month would be a game changer.
Absolutely. And again, it's that pride thing of something, it's a really important form of activism to be able to I helped achieve that, even if it was just in a small way. We all know how much those little things count. So you mentioned you got an event tomorrow, and as the Auckland organizer for Make the Connection advocacy group, will we be right in thinking that Make the Connection operates in a similar manner to AV, which is Anonymous for the Voiceless, if anyone doesn't know? Could you tell us a bit more about this movement? Is it unique to New Zealand? Is it something that Kiwis started?
I wouldn't say Kiwis started. Some other groups around the world did it, just because AV has very strict rules, and we just thought it'd be nice to be a bit more flexible, perhaps show some different things, have different masks, because those masks also have an association to certain negative aspects around the world, which is kind of unfortunate. But hey, to the person on the street, they don't really care about what masks we're wearing or what the exact footage is. So the important thing to me is that we're out doing it and showing it and having those conversations, because the finer details don't matter too much. And on the subject of Make the Connection, we've actually progressed it even further. We've got a new activist who's come along, and he's got this idea to have a statement that says animals deserve to be abused, prove me wrong. And most people are unhappy with that statement, but it drives people to have this conversation and go, what? You can't say that, and then bam, just like that, conversation started. And then from there, they realize that they're being hypocritical by being not liking the statement, but then paying for animals to be exploited and killed. So, it's just progressed from the AV thing to the MTC and now to this one. And we'll just change it in ways that work better and keep moving forward.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for the explanation.
Yeah, I love having those approaches, though, of that, get them to undermine themselves, with having to answer that question. It's I suppose it sort of stems from that common meme that you'll see with that guy with the table in the park, with that whole thing of prove me wrong. And it's a great way to tackle it. I must check out more of those videos, because I've been seeing them come up from the local feed, and I'm like, I'd love to see what the response would be, especially here in New Zealand, with it very, we support our farmers, although we should be supporting our produce farmers, just not the farmers, as they say.
That's right. Yeah.
But within our advocacy, there's been so many different groups, and constantly new ones emerging, old ones fading away, and then some being brought back to life. But as an organization who tries to showcase a huge variety of activism, we've seen how people might love some groups and then dislike other groups because, their method doesn't quite gel with them. So finding your tribe can be difficult in a world where we're so interconnected by the internet, but then still distanced to a degree. Watching you go about your activism and your outreach here in Auckland and around the country, you look like you're really in your element now, and you've got the one big happy family, you've got your tribe. Do you have any tips for our activists on finding their tribe?
It takes time. Yeah, certainly when I was first vegan, I didn't know many people, and I definitely went through that kind of angry at the world phase. And since then, things have gotten progressively better and better to where there's a huge group of activists. There's also the potlucks that happen. There's also fitness groups all within our city now. And it's taken time, but be that person who makes an event or hosts a potluck or something. Don't just rely on other people to do it, because everyone's probably thinking the same thing. Oh, someone else should do it. But, you could be that person. And I never really pictured myself as being that person, but it's really not that hard, make a Facebook event or whatever else and be there on the time that whatever it is for your event and show up and do the job, and more people will come and more people will get involved.
That's a great idea. And even doing things like, I know around here, there's a few cafes and stuff like that have a vegan menu. If you want to go there, just put a heads up, hey, I'm going to go check out this place. Feel free to come along, there's so many things you can do to get people, meeting up.
Absolutely.
Even for activism events too, I say even if one person decides or considers to change, then it's worth it. It doesn't have to be 100 people showing up or 100 people interacting, whatever, because again, that ripple effect, they might go home and talk to their friends or family, and then that individual person might not change, but someone else, as a result of the conversation that they've had, may change from there.
Absolutely. It's all those planting seeds, isn't it? We had a lady come up to us in the supermarket a little while ago, didn't we? And she's not on the internet, or she doesn't have a computer. And then she's been vegan for years. And we were in the supermarket talking to her for almost an hour, because she's obviously, sort of lacking in vegan friends.
Yeah.
And so, she said, I would love it for someone to organize something, because, not everybody, most people have access to social media, but some people need more in-person contact. And so, so we made her a promise that if we ever organize anything, we're going to drop a line in, because the librarian at the local library knows that she's vegan, and that she will tell her. So there's always ways and means.
Nice. Yeah, we need to stick together.
Definitely. But often within the movement, we see people being heavily involved in singular aspects of veganism, one or another. For instance, the majority of vegan athletes that we see, the shining examples of health and fitness, but we see them focus primarily on their sport. Some try to sort of slot in a bit of animal advocacy here and there, but others not at all. But for someone who does both your sport and activism so frequently, how do you find balance between those passions, and how important is it to you to represent both?
I see it as a walking billboard if you're wearing something like Team Vegan, as I do at events. And the ethical connection to the animals is so important. And you guys have obviously, made that a thing by saying FTA, and it is so important, because people that are vegan for their health do it for their health, and it's a thing that's a personal thing. Perhaps they haven't seen Dominion or something like that, and they might not quite fully understand it, and that aspect is so important. So for me, both avenues are totally important, because one thing is that we need to show that we can shine by running or doing whatever it is we do, and then also speaking about the animals, because that is, in my mind, the fourth to why I am vegan and why people should be vegan.
Yeah,
absolutely. And thank you for being the way that you are. I honestly can't think of many, if any, other people really that really epitomize the whole, both aspects, the way that you do. It's awesome. Do you, just out of curiosity, where you said you got into the whole fitness thing by cycling, is there one aspect of your events that you like doing? For example, when I did triathlons many moons ago, I loved running, but I was rubbish at the rest. Do you have a favorite kind of component in your events?
Yeah, certainly cycling would be the one. You cannot beat the feeling of it. Being able to coast downhill or even ride uphill fast is certainly an amazing feeling. Especially mountain biking, I've gotten to that recently too, and it's you just have such a big smile on your face after riding, and it happens each time. You have that joy. So yeah, certainly. But running second, and then swimming probably last out of those three.
Oh, brilliant. In a recent interview you did with the New Zealand vegan magazine, you said that life was easier for you as a vegan when it comes to being an athlete. Can you explain a little bit more about this for our viewers?
Yeah, certainly. Like, for instance, it's now 11:30. I haven't had breakfast. Usually I will just have my water in the morning, go out for my training run or training ride, and then I'll come home and have my breakfast, and I look forward to it that much more so. And from there, would be fruit, and then fruit for lunch as well, because it's so easy to digest. And if I'm doing a double run day, for instance, then I have a nice light feeling in the body that I can go out for another run. Maybe it's another 6, 7, 8K in the afternoon or something like that. And I don't have that sluggish feeling where I want to lie down and digest my food, because I have nature's optimum, fruit, the fast food. So that's certainly one aspect of it, not having to digest a big heavy meal. Also the recovery, I know that we're meant to eat certain foods, and that's what I do frequently, so that my body can recover the muscle soreness or the muscle fatigue, instead of having to digest and eliminate bad food that I've consumed, because I don't consume it. So getting to the stage of getting the body as happy as it can be with the food input and also the training load.
It's awesome. It's great. I think, when you understand the plant-based nutrition, we talk a lot about, the body's a machine, and you got to fuel the machine. And it's, like I said, you're just a shining example of how the body can run when it's, really being treated like a I don't know, machine is the right way. Your body's
yeah, machine. Yeah, it's a good analogy to try and work it out.
Yeah. It's just when you're just running on the right fuel, I guess. I read in the same interview actually in the Vegan Mag that you for breakfast, you'll eat a whole watermelon with a spoon, and I just could picture that and I thought, what a wonderfully mindful way of eating. It must take a bit of a while, but so many of us we scoff breakfast and you're not even really thinking about what you're eating for, and you just shove it in your face and it's gone. I would imagine that eating a watermelon with a spoon would be a bit different.
Definitely. A lot of people just have a slice because they're scared of the sugar or something like that, which is insane. But yeah, if you look at, or if you try and take it back to what we would have eaten back in the day before technology, before all of this modern day society, what would it have been? Chances are we would have just walked along to a tree or found some kind of fruit, gone, whoa, that looks good. Oh, that smells good. Crack it open. Oh, that tastes good. And then eaten as much as we wanted of it.
Exactly. It makes so much sense, doesn't it, when you think about it? We didn't worry about, anything like that back then, too much sugar, too many carbs and all that. But
yeah.
It's
That's right.
I have to give it a go sometime. It might take me a while.
Definitely. We can talk after this too, and I'd love to help you guys as well. So
it sounds good. I'd be keen for that. I know one aspect that a lot of people, and I hadn't thought about this as well, have thought about until becoming involved with such activities as running, is where to get your gear from as an ethical vegan. I have to admit, it didn't occur to me, and it should have, because it makes total sense. But in the same interview, you also spoke about buying ethically sourced training gear and avoiding common products used in the sports world, such as the synthetic fabric clothing and a lot of the balms that are out there as well. So for all our lovely overseas viewers who don't have the chance to pick up this wonderful magazine for themselves, could you share a little on this topic?
Yeah, I use the Ultra shoes. I'm not sponsored in any way to say that. The reason I use them is because they've got a nice wide toe box so your toes don't get squished in. But yeah, the majority of their running shoes are vegan as well. So that's obviously super important. And then from there, I just don't use fancy running gear because you don't really need it. If you're just doing a training run around the park, then a simple cotton shirt or something will do the trick, no worries. And on that subject too, I try and run on the grass as well to minimize the wear on shoes and having to buy more as well. So, rather than running on concrete and stuff like that, you can run on grass and that prolongs the wear of them, which is a great thing. So, yeah.
Oh, it's good to know. It's good to know you can do things in plain clothes as well, isn't it? Quite often we'll be out for a walk. We'll be out for a walk casual as anything in t-shirt and shorts or whatever, and we'll come up, everyone else facing the other way to us, and we'll be like, oh my goodness, we came out without our walking clothes. It's like,
oh, I haven't got my Kathmandu walking jacket.
Yeah. No, you don't need all the fancy stuff. And I mean, I've got a couple of cotton printed vegan shirts, and I love to wear them in different places because people take notice that whether or not they say anything, they probably don't, but they definitely, they might give you a salty look, but hey, I'm the one running along it for 35 minutes per K doing whatever I'm doing, and the other one's walking. So who's the one that's upset as a result of seeing a vegan message? And again, they might kind of give you not the best look, but maybe they'll go, oh, wow, and take notice another vegan is doing another lap, or something like that. And that's kind of a cool thing. So
absolutely.
Yeah,
that's another great
running billboard.
Yes, it's another great way to be active, isn't it? I know when we're out, I've got my Defender of Animals on, and when we're wearing that shirt, people often smile at us when we have Defender of Animals. They're probably not even vegan. They probably eat animals, but they just like, oh, that's nice. Or when we wear an anti-carnist design that's a bit more intricate, you'll see people kind of like staring at us, trying to read it. And then the penny's dropping and they're like, oh, I'm not quite sure what I make of this. But it's great to watch other people's expressions. It's very entertaining.
Totally. And, if they do say something, then I'll say, when's the last time you ran an ultra marathon, or when's the last time you did something like this, and it would just be an inspiring conversation if they ask that question. And I'm always keen for the time that it does or does not happen.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing, when they instigate it as well, when they ask the questions themselves, that often means that they're going to be more open to receiving those answers too, because it's them instigating. And so Yeah, I love wearing our vegan gear when we're out and about doing our stuff. We're not running, but when we go for our walk, and against the Kathmandu front, it goes quite well. But something we touched on at the very start of this interview was about your incredible 100-mile run, and how you incorporated a nice little bit of activism at the end of it. We understand you copped a bit of flack for it as well. Would you mind sharing with our audience what it was you did and the community response you received from it?
Well, I'd like to say that the community response was really good. There was only one Facebook thread where it wasn't so good. But the idea was to have a sign and have a poignant question to the wider audience, not directed at anyone. That was especially important to me, that I had to make it to the end in order to hold the sign up, because if I got to 120K in and pulled the pin, then I wouldn't have been able to do it. That it's all about that photo finish where you've made it across the finish line, powered by plants, and obviously holding the sign was super important. So I said, 100-mile ultra as a vegan, why eat animals? And that's what I held up as I jog/walked across the last little stretch. Because why not? It's a point where you got that chance to have the photos taken and have the most amount of impact. So it was very important to me to make it to the line in order to hold the sign up.
It was brilliant. Absolutely. Just loved that. Loved all the photos. It was Jinki, wasn't it, that took wonderful photos of you along the whole way. And it was
big thanks to Jinki for coming along, because she showcased it in a way that was just so much more impactful as well. And super fortunate to have her along for the journey.
And you had a whole vegan support team, didn't you? You had Shamiz as well.
Yep, Shamiz and my other mate Cam was there. They were the pace runners / support runners. So they are allowed to run with you, not allowed to give you any food or anything, but I guess a little bit of psychological motivation, or a bit of, just having someone else there running through the night.
Definitely.
is a great thing when you're that deep into a huge, crazy ultra.
Because it took you just over 24 hours, was it?
Yeah, I kind of had a personal goal that I would like to get under 24 hours, and that is quite a special thing for a 100-mile distance. And I was on track for that, except with about 9K to go, my knee just got very, very sore as a result of being 50-something Ks in, and I didn't quite make it, but the time was 24 hours and 35 minutes. Wow. So maybe next time. There might be a next time too.
Wow, that would be awesome. To give everyone an idea of how fast that actually is and how fit you'd have to be, I saw a post recently from the International Anti-Poaching Foundation where the Akashinga Rangers also ran for 24 hours. And I think you managed around 40 odd kilometers more than that in the same amount of time, which is a huge distance. Nice. So, that's a pretty fine running machine you got there.
Yeah, well, about almost 200 people were on the start list, 152 finished. So there were some DNSs did not start and some DNFs did not finish. And then, so my result was 22nd overall out of 150 something finishes.
Wow. That's amazing. That's so cool, and something that you continue to do. I'd like to say that that's been far from the last event for you. I mean, we can't even begin to count all your achievements, and I think I read that leading up to the Tarawera ultramarathon, which is what you did, you're regularly running like 100 kilometers or more a week leading up to that, which is a brilliant feat in itself. But as if that wasn't amazing enough, you also did it for the animals, which is just so cool, to raise money for the wonderful Pause a While Animal Sanctuary. Now that you've already run a 165-kilometer event for the animals, where on earth do you go from here? Is there an even bigger goal in existence than that? And would you want to do it?
Yeah, there absolutely is. I'm not sure if I'm comfortable sharing it, because it's one thing that I think, once you commit to it, it's kind of out in the open and there's no going back, as it was the case for the 100-miler. But yeah, there's certainly some bigger plans brewing, and, my physical peak, my age, with my age, I've still got a few years to try and pull it off. So yeah, watch this space.
Fantastic.
Absolutely, will do.
Well, on that topic, I know you have an awesome vlog. Where can our followers go to keep up to date with you on social media?
Just Kiwi Bigfoot on YouTube and on Instagram or Facebook too. So I share physical stuff, physical exercise, also animal rights activism, also what I eat and other stuff like that in relation to this wonderful vegan lifestyle.
Thank you for watching this episode. If you'd like to support our speaker, then follow the links provided in the description. If you're enjoying this content, then please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Leave a like on our videos or drop a comment with something that you've learned. Your love and support means the world to us, and we thank you all for watching this.